You thought it was just bad luck, slow service, cold food, high prices, but now it's obvious you weren't alone. Canadians are fed up and they're not coming back. These restaurant chains are finally seeing the impact. Industry reports show that big American food companies lost more than $150 million from Canadian visitors in 1 year. This isn't random, it's a pattern. Today, we'll show you the top 15 American chains that Canadians are avoiding. And number 2 has a huge problem that even longtime fans couldn't ignore. Number 15, Chick-fil-A, from interest to anger. At first, it was something new. Canadians would cross into America, see a Chick-fil-A, and wonder what everyone was talking about. Some even waited in long lines just to try the famous chicken sandwich. But that curiosity has turned into something much worse. What used to feel like a special southern restaurant now feels wrong to many Canadians. The food might be crispy, but the company's reputation is a big problem. Chick-fil-A's political donations and support for anti-LGBTQ groups made headlines. While some American customers forgot about, Canadian travelers have not. In a country where being inclusive is normal, not special, Chick-fil-A's controversies left a bad impression. Canadian tourist surveys from last year showed a huge 38% drop in people planning to visit the chain during US trips. Stories from travel websites and food social media make it clear Chick-fil-A has become the place people skip, even when they're hungry. Add the high-priced combo meals over $15 in many places, and even the sandwich doesn't seem worth it anymore. Meanwhile, Canadian-friendly competitors like A&W and Mary Brown's have become more popular, offering ethical source, eco-friendly packaging, and fewer controversies. Chick-fil-A tried to expand into Canada and failed. Now they're struggling to keep Canadians who visit the US. Number 14, Hype International. Not really. You pull off the highway, hungry and looking for something familiar, but in more American towns, something's different. Fewer Canadian license plates at Hype. The blue signs used to mean good pancakes and comfort food. Now, many Canadians drive right past. What happened? Hype always said it was a friendly, cheap breakfast spot for travel. But while people's expectations about food quality and health got higher, Hype stayed the same. Canadian visitors have gotten louder about their complaints. The syrup is fake, the fruit comes from cans, and the all-day breakfast often has old eggs and soggy bacon. And those huge portions? Bigger isn't better when you feel sick after eating. In 2024, Canadian travel bloggers and food reviewers wrote more than 50 bad reviews about Hype visits in Washington, Michigan, and New York. A Montreal couple became famous on TikTok after comparing a $17 Canadian brunch to a $26 Hype meal. The Hype food looked like cafeteria leftover. It's not just how it looks. Hype uses too many processed ingredients, which goes against what Canadians want. Locally grown, clean food. Instead of sugary pancakes, Canadians are choosing independent brunch places and small diners with fresh ingredients, especially in border towns like Buffalo, Spokane, and Detroit. Hype still calls itself international, but many Canadians don't think it deserves that name anymore. Number 13, Applebee's. The neighborhood is empty now. You walk in hoping for comfort food, but what you get feels like a ghost of what it used to be. Applebee's once proudly called itself your neighborhood bar and grill, but for many Canadian travelers, that neighborhood now looks abandoned. The menu hasn't really changed in years. The decorations look frozen in 2008, and the food is forgettable. Reheated appetizers, watery cocktails, and main dishes that taste like they came from a motel microwave. Canadians used to stop here after shopping or road trips. Now they avoid it completely. It's not just about the food. What made it worse was higher prices and disappearing service. Reports from cross-border cities like Plattsburgh, Niagara Falls, and Bellingham show Applebee's locations are often short-staffed and disappointing. In early 2025, a viral TikTok showed Toronto teenagers leaving mid-meal after waiting 30 minutes for frozen boneless wings. The clip ended with one saying, "We could have gotten better food at a gas station." That line stuck, and so did the feeling. Canadian diners are switching from Applebee's to craft pubs, fusion restaurants, and anywhere that doesn't serve mashed potatoes from a plastic bag. The once welcoming chain has become a warning store. When you stop improving, customers stop coming. Number 12, Cracker Barrel. From cozy to creepy. There's a thin line between rustic charm and feeling like you're trapped in a time capsule. Cracker Barrel crossed it. For decades, Canadians on road trips enjoyed the novelty of porch rocking chairs, checkerboards, and country ham. But now that charm feels more like a fake show. Diners aren't overlooking the outdated decoration, questionable food quality, and a menu heavy on processed meats and fried everything. And while it once felt real, Today's younger travelers call it something else, fake nostalgia. In 2024, Canadian tourist spending at Cracker Barrel fell by over 30%. It's easy to see why. A group of Montreal vloggers filmed their visit to a Cracker Barrel near Alberta. What was supposed to be a comforting Southern-style dinner turned into an embarrassing experience. Cold cornbread, stale mac and cheese, and gravy with the texture of glue. The video title said it all: Canada deserves better. That video now has over 150,000 views, and the comment section is brutal. Cracker Barrel's biggest problem: it's trying to sell a version of America that Canadians don't want in. They want fresh, inclusive, modern food, not a meal that comes with outdated values and biscuits that taste like cardboard. Number 11, Subway, fresh? Not anymore. You walk in expecting a quick, fresh sandwich and leave wondering what you just ate. For Canadians, Subway has gone from a road trip staple to a brand they actively avoid in the US. What killed the appetite? Rubber-textured bread, soggy lettuce, and meats that don't taste like anything natural. The slogan might still say, "Eat fresh," but Canadians aren't buying it, literally or figurative. Industry insiders report an amazing 42% drop in cross-border Canadian sales at US Subway franchises. Much of the damage came after reports revealed questionable meat sourcing and high sodium level. But what really sealed the deal was the comparison. In Canada, Subway quietly improved their ingredients and presentation. In the US, many franchises cut corners, made portions smaller, and failed health inspections in multiple states during 2024. One viral moment came when a Calgary student posted a side-by-side photo of her Subway tuna sandwich from Alberta versus one from Detroit. The difference was laughable, and the post got over 200,000 likes. Canadians now refer to US Subway as fast food catfish. It looks decent on the menu board, but you never know what you're getting in the bag. Once the go-to for travelers in a hurry, Subway now finds itself buried under bad press and worse sandwich. Number 10. Denny's, the American diner gets smaller. There was a time when seeing a bright Denny's sign off the highway felt comfort. 24-hour comfort food, greasy eggs, and endless coffee. For Canadian travelers, it was part of the road trip experience. But that tradition is falling apart. Now, Denny's feels less like a diner and more like a cheap brunch spot. Burnt toast, dry pancakes, mystery sausages. It's the kind of breakfast that makes you question your choices. The menu hasn't kept up, quality has dropped, and the atmosphere has been stripped of charm, drowning in beige plastic booths and chipped syrup container. The numbers are clear. Canadian tourist surveys in early 2025 showed an amazing 41% drop in planned visits to Denny's while in the US. The reason? A mix of pricing disappointment and food regret. One Vancouver couple documented their 2 a.m. stop at a Buffalo Denny, $39 for 2 Grand Slams, both served cold. Their review ended with "never again." That review was shared over 80,000 times across Canadian travel groups. Meanwhile, Canada's own diner scene, clean, modern, and affordable, is booming. From Montreal's independent brunch spots to Toronto's vegan diner, the contrast is obvious. Denny's forgot that comfort food needs to actually be comfort. Canadians haven't forgotten, and they're not coming back. Number 9. Olive Garden, endless regret, not breadsticks. It used to be a joke: when you're here, you're family. But for more Canadians, Olive Garden now feels like the relative everyone avoids. The fake Italian charm and endless salad aren't appealing anymore. Instead, there's a bloated menu, reheated sauces, and pasta so overcooked it could be baby food. Canadian travelers used to give Olive Garden a chance. Now they're warning others to stay away. What happened? The chain didn't change with the times. While Canada's restaurant scene embraced real regional food and farm-to-table experiences, Olive Garden stayed stuck with its old formula. Pasta drowning in butter, frozen chicken, and enough salt to preserve a body. 2024 data shows Olive Garden's visits from Canadian travelers dropped by 26%. TripAdvisor and Reddit are full of reviews calling the chain outdated and barely better than a microwave dinner. Even influencers who used to promote it are quietly saying no to collaborations. Meanwhile, Canadian Italian restaurants in cities like Ottawa and Vancouver are exploding in popularity, offering handmade pasta, fresh basil, and imported olive oil. People returning from cross-border trips now call Olive Garden tourist trap food, something from when bland, boring food was acceptable. For Canadians looking for real flavor and value, the endless breadsticks just aren't enough anymore. Number 8. TGI Fridays, stale cheers, empty boot. You walk in hoping for that signature party atmosphere and hearty American food, but instead you're met with an aging menu and a dated vibe that seems stuck in the past. TGI Fridays, once the go-to spot for casual dinners and weekend celebration, has fallen out of favor with Canadians. The menu, which hasn't seen real updates in years, is loaded with greasy burgers, salty appetizers, and frozen sides that taste as tired as the decorations. The famous Fridays experience, once synonymous with fun nights out, now feels uninspired. dull, and out of sync with modern dining. What went wrong? As Canadians have moved toward health, fresher, and more ethically sourced food, TGI Fridays has failed to adapt. The chain has stuck to its old formula, while competitors have embraced new trends, offering low, clean label ingredients and meals with more thought put into taste and quality. Canadian tourists, once loyal to the brand, are now choosing places that focus on fresh ingredients and modern dining experiences. The result? Fewer Canadians are stopping at TGI Fridays during their US road trips. The once busy booths are now empty, and the restaurant's nostalgic charm is no longer enough to win over picky diners. Number 7. Panda Express. Fast food meets flavor fatigue. It hits your tongue like a sugar bomb disguised as stir-fry. Once a novelty on road trips, Panda Express has become a poster child for everything wrong with mall food. Canadian travelers used to tolerate the sticky orange chicken and reheated lo mein, but now they're avoiding it altogether. Why? Because in the age of authentic street food and clean label meal, Panda Express feels artificial, dated, and overpriced. Food analytics from early 2025 show a 41% drop in Canadian spending at US Panda Express locations, especially in border malls and interstate rest stop. The food doesn't just lack authenticity, it lacks freshness. Steam trays sit too long. Noodles clump together. Vegetables drown in syrupy sauces that taste more like dessert than dinner. One Vancouver couple on a road trip to Oregon documented their experience trying to find decent food on I-05. They stopped at Panda Express, filmed the entire meal, and titled the video "Canada Deserves Better Stir-Fry." It went viral overnight with hundreds of commenters sharing their own never again panda story. Meanwhile, Canadian Asian fusion spots and food trucks are booming, offering real wok flavor, fresh ginger, and bold spices without the sugar crash. For modern Canadian diners, Panda Express doesn't represent convenience, it represents a culinary shortcut that's no longer acceptable. Number 6. Outback Steakhouse. From down under to down. It used to be a novelty for Canadians on US road trips, an Aussie-themed steakhouse with big portion, hearty flavors, and that famous bloomin' onion. But late Outback feels more like a layover in flavor limbo than an adventure. The steaks arrive overcooked or under-seasoned. The sides taste straight from a freezer bag, and the once beloved onion starter now feels like an oil-soaked dare. Canadians have noticed the decline. In 2024, tourism surveys showed a 31% drop in planned visits to Outback Steakhouse locations during US trips. Part of the problem is competition. Canadian steakhouse, from local chop houses to farm-to-table grills, are serving fresher cuts and more creative sides for similar prices. Outback's old playbook of oversized portions and casual Aussie charm just isn't cutting it anymore. Social media hasn't been kind either. One Calgary couple's Outback failed TikTok, featuring a $38 steak that looked like it had lost a fight with a microwave, racked up over 200,000 views. Comments summed it up: "For this price, I'll stay in Canada." Number 5. Five Guys. Too greasy, too expensive. The brown paper bag might be famous, but the grease soaking through it isn't good. For Canadians crossing the border, Five Guys used to be a nice treat. Big burger, lots of fries, and a simple, old-school feel. But in 2025, something changed. Prices went crazy high. The experience got boring, and suddenly, Canadians stopped wanting it. A typical meal for one person now costs more than $25, and that's without a milkshake. For travelers used to clear pricing and fresh food, that bill feels like robbery. The turning point came when several Canadian influencers filmed their cross-border food trips and included Five Guys receipts in their overpriced failures video. One video comparing a $19 Five Guys burger to a locally sourced $13 burger in Toronto got over 1 million views. Comments flooded in, "Never again. Not worth the calories. No way." It's not just about perception. Food quality is getting worse. Customers notice smaller burger patties, saltier fries, and worse serve. In contrast, Canada's own gourmet burger places like the Burger's Priest are doing great, offering cleaner ingredients, lower prices, and just as much flavor without feeling sick afterward. Five Guys used to rely on charm and simplicity. Now it's weighed down by its own problems. Number 4. Buffalo Wild Wings. Chaos, noise, and high prices. The sound hits you first. TVs blasting, fans shout, servers yelling over the noise. For Canadians used to chill sports bars and good bar menu, Buffalo Wild Wings feels like too much. What used to be fun and rowdy has become overpriced chaos. Plates of wings arrive cold. Beer selection is boring. And the famous sauces are now mostly sugar bombs hiding dried out chicken. 2025 numbers from travel spending reports show a sharp 29% decline in Canadian visits to Buffalo Wild Wings locations across northern US states. One couple from Winnipeg shared their experience: 2 orders of wings, 1 pitcher of beer, and a basket of fries totaling $72. Their verdict: we could have had a full steak dinner in Canada for less. It's not just about cost. Reviews increasingly mention poor service, dirty bathroom, and food that looks better in commercials than on plates. Meanwhile, Canadian wing joints and small breweries are thriving, offering bold local flavor, friendly atmosphere, and prices that don't hurt your wallet. Buffalo Wild Wings built its success on experience. Now that experience feels exhausting, and Canadians are giving up. Number 3, Dairy Queen. Sweet memory, sour reality. Nostalgia can only take you so far. And for Canadians visiting the US, Dairy Queen has officially crossed the line from childhood treat to grown-up regret. What used to be a beloved stop for blizzards and burgers now feels like a cheap attempt to cash in on memories with none of the magic left. Melting cone, freezer-burned cakes, and burgers that taste like they've been microwaved into submission. That's what's greeting travelers today. Franchise insiders reveal a nearly 35% decline in Canadian spending at US Dairy Queen locations over the last 12 months. While Canadian DQs quietly maintained quality standards, their American counterparts spiral. Budget cuts, thinner staffing, and aging equipment have left many locations offering service that's barely functional and food that's barely edible. A particularly damaging moment came when a Quebec family posted their DQ disaster on TikTok, featuring half-melted ice cream, sticky tape, and a manager who shrugged when they complained. The clip sparked outrage and led to thousands of Canadians sharing similar experiences. The verdict was clear: Dairy Queen in the US no longer delivers the experience Canadians once loved. When your brand runs on nostalgia, there's no room for sloppiness. Number 2, McDonald's US, the brand that lost its bite. You'd think it would be untouchable. Golden arch, worldwide reach, decades of dominance. But for Canadians traveling in the US, McDonald's isn't a comfort zone anymore, it's a disappointment. The fries taste off, the burgers feel life, the stores are dimmer, dirtier, and slower. For the first time in living memory, Canadians are saying no thanks to the most iconic fast food brand on earth. Here's what the data shows. Canadian spending at US McDonald's locations dropped nearly 29% in the past 12 months. It's not just about taste, it's about contrast. McDonald's Canada has invested heavily in higher quality ingredients, cleaner store, digital order, and sustainability. Meanwhile, the US version lags behind. Bad lighting, broken ice cream machines, messy counter. It's no longer fun, it's frustrating. One TikTok series called Canada vs US McDonald's went viral earlier this year, featuring Canadian travelers taste testing both. The verdict was brutal. From portion sizes to freshness, McDonald's US came in dead last. Even the packaging looked cheaper. When the brand that defined global fast food starts feeling second-rate, it sends a signal: the empire is slipping. Canadians notice, and they're walking away. The golden arches, the red baskets, the endless fries, they used to mean something. Now Canadians are saying goodbye. Number 1, Red Lobster. When the biscuit stopped working. For years, it only took one sentence to sell Canadians on Red Lobster: they have those warm, buttery biscuits. But somewhere along the way, the magic wore off. Now those famous biscuits arrive cold. The lobster is rubbery, and the atmosphere feels more like a bingo hall than a seafood escape. In early 2025, Red Lobster filed for bankruptcy protection in the US amid store closures and plummeting sales. Canadian visitors were already vanishing before that. A travel behavior study from Ontario found that only 8% of Canadian road trippers stopped at Red Lobster in the past year, down from nearly 30% a decade ago. Blame it on outdated interiors, unreliable service, or a menu that feels stuck in the 90s. But more than that, Canadians have simply found better options. From West Coast oyster bars to East Coast lobster roll, the Canadian seafood scene has matured, and Red Lobster stayed exactly the same. Even the gimmicks don't land any. Endless shrimp feels more like a dare than a deal. For modern travelers seeking experience and flavor, Red Lobster delivers neither. And no biscuit, however nostalgic, can fix that. Like, subscribe, and comment below if your cross-border food stops have changed. And if you thought this was shocking, wait till you see who's replacing these giants.